Turning Point USA finally issued a direct response to Candace Owens, and it sent shockwaves throughout the internet. Candace on her show immediately after addressed each one of the claims made by Neff one by one. And as anyone who has been paying attention to this Charlie Kirk investigation should know, Neff only addressed surface level questions that Candace has raised and did not actually address or hit on the very important questions that all of us really care about. Neff, on behalf of Turning Point USA, invited Candace on to the show to discuss her claims and address all of her questions in a live setting. She accepted. We'll be on the lookout for that event. However, there is a part of this Turning Point USA statement, which Blake Neff read as it was crafted by lawyers, that I really have a problem with. It's very insulting to people like me and you, especially as it relates to yet another Turning Point USA whistleblower who has come out and revealed something very sinister and dark that was going on behind Charlie's back at Turning Point USA. You're going to want to see that. And finally, Tim Pool is absolutely crashing out for some reason over Candace Owens. And this rant that he goes on here in this clip that I'm about to show you, it's really just disappointing to see a lot of these guys on the right just conform into this normie establishment mouthpiece and abandon their values in order to win elections. Like that is the final goal and the point to all of this. No, the point to all of this is to find and expose the truth, come what may, regardless of outcome or election consequence. Political shills get blown by the wind and use the excuse of winning elections to compromise their values. That's not us here in this God First nation. Subscribe to join us. Let's get started. I'm Zach Costello. What you're about to see here is an all-time crash out from Tim Pool against Candace Owens. You're not going to believe what he says here, but I'm really glad he says it because of what it truly exposes. Listen to this and then I'll explain.
If the Republicans lose in the midterms, I believe that Candace Owens is wholly responsible. She is one of the biggest podcasts on the right doing everything to go to war with the organization that helped get Trump elected. Turning Point specifically was going out and registering people to vote. Without Charlie, it's in trouble. Turning Point needs to be able to go out and rally young people and register them to vote. And she's doing everything she can to destroy that. And that is going to, I suppose, it's going to rip out the coffers on the right. There is no organization like Turning Point that exists anywhere else that has the resources and the reach. And without Charlie, I'm not sure that they can make it. But I can tell you this, Candace lighting a Molotov and throwing it through the window is not helping. And it's the most demoralizing thing ever. Additionally, all of the fucking cowards on the right who are too scared to say anything about her, because she tweets at me talking shit or whatever, and then a bunch of people come and flood our chat. I could give a single flying fuck. You can come and you can burn everything I have to the ground, and I will happily live in a van down by the river. I don't care to be number one. I don't need to be number one. What I care about is what is true and what will help this country and what works. And she is a fucking scumbag, okay? And she's getting worse every day. And she crossed the line. She continually crosses the line every day, insinuating that Turning Point literally killed the guy who made them all rich. And I hear this in the streets, and at a certain point, I'm like, holy shit, we're gonna lose the midterms. We're gonna lose the midterms, then we're gonna lose in 2028, and it's because she's a piece of shit. Because instead of saying, guys, let's come together and figure out how to work together, she says the stupidest, retarded crap, and now everybody's running around divided and broken. For what reason? For literally what reason?
You know, Tim, I'm very glad you mentioned how critically influential Turning Point USA is. I'm really glad you mentioned that this organization was so powerful and how it was just about the single biggest factor in getting Trump to victory and flipping the U.S. presidential election. I agree with that. Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA galvanized and organized the young vote in America to get Donald Trump elected president. I covered this strategy when Charlie laid it all out on the Patrick Bet-David podcast. It was incredible. It was revolutionary what he and they did. And this is precisely why I and so many of us are very concerned about this assassination case being bigger than just Tyler Robinson. The initial issue that really pissed Candace Owens off was in the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death. Many who claimed to be Charlie's very close friends for some reason felt the need to cling his final legacy to Israel and Zionism. Even Bibi Netanyahu himself did an American press tour the day after, the weeks after Charlie was killed. And in one of those appearances, he explicitly stated that Israel must win the propaganda war in America and stated that it was a weapon of modern warfare. Now, when Israel's existence is dependent upon American support, and the most influential American conservative activist with the most influential organization in America, who just flipped that U.S. presidential election, is making moves to take away that support, and then said individual is publicly assassinated in the midst of withdrawing that support, logical, open-minded, truth-seeking people are going to be like, yeah, okay, this is something that I think we should look into or be suspicious of. Let's not forget to mention that we wouldn't have known anything about Charlie's shifting views on Israel if not for Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson. We wouldn't know that Charlie told Tucker to go max against Israel and Zionism at Turning Point USA events if not for Megyn Kelly. And look at what all of those people who tried to hijack Charlie's never-wavering Zionist legacy have done to them. Calls for cancellation, lawfare, threats to sue, moral blackmail. They're the most dangerous anti-Semites in America. They call them to shut them up, ultimately is what they're doing. If you're confused about what is causing the division on the right and why we can't just get along to win the midterm elections, it's because some of us who are awake and aware have noticed that a portion of the right is acting like the left did over COVID vaccines. Just take the jab, do it so we can win the midterms is the equivalent. No. There are some of us who just want the truth, regardless of who is implicated or the political consequences. He mentions Candace criticizing Turning Point USA as the most demoralizing thing ever. You know what was more demoralizing? Charlie Kirk losing his life. And thanks again to Candace, we know that certain individuals within Turning Point USA had issues that went against Charlie's vision. Another whistleblower has come out and revealed something very suspicious about what some individuals in the organization were up to behind Charlie's back. Before we get to that though, guys, I want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video who shares in our values and helps this channel remain independent. Real quick. All right, guys, The Wellness Company is an important partner and sponsor of this channel. What if censored medicine that saved millions during the pandemic was being made mostly in China today? It's true. About 80% of the world's ivermectin supply comes from Asia, but not at The Wellness Company. Introducing American-made ivermectin, safe, trusted, tested, and produced locally in Florida. Ivermectin has been prescribed globally for more than 30 years and even earned the Nobel Prize in Medicine for its proven ability to eliminate parasites. But after success treating COVID, emerging research shows that the wonder drug can help with everything from rosacea, arthritis, and even cancer. Most pharmacies charge $5 per tablet for 12 milligrams or less, but the Wellness Company is offering a higher 18 milligram dose for just $3.50 per tablet. You'll get a 6-month supply of 84 tablets at an unbeatable price. Support American medicine and patriot doctors, not China's supply chain. Get your US-made ivermectin today at twc.health/Zach and use code Zach to save $30 off plus free shipping. Taking ownership and getting aligned on your health is a core value of this channel. Let's get back into it. There was a Turning Point USA whistleblower testimony that went viral yesterday of a young lady, which I decided not to cover because as someone who has built a business, I know that something from a disgruntled employee isn't always believable or credible. This one, though, hit a little bit different. Listen to this.
Joshua Peterson. I worked for Turning Point USA and Turning Point USA Faith, and I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I want to say on the record that there was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests and what he wanted to do, as well as there was a Jewish influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of, that he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets assassinated. Another thing that makes me believe this inner circle was constantly working against Charlie was because of the fact that he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. Now, the thing about this branch is it's been getting millions of dollars poured into it over the past 4 years now, and that's been seen through their latest tax returns, which were also filed late, which was weird, but that's not a topic for another time. This stock market group that Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever. Now, if you also look into it a little bit deeper, if you look at the staff on that branch specifically, it says zero. It says there's nobody employed in that branch, yet they're pouring $5 million into funds for employees. Make it make sense. That sounds like money laundering to me. It sounds like there's some pyramid scheme going on behind the scenes at Turning Point that Charlie did not know about originally, and I think that he was planning to expose that, and that's ultimately what got him killed.
Okay, so we know that Charlie Kirk wanted to implement a Doge team to find out where the money was going at Turning Point USA. Again, this is not small money here. Turning Point USA is a big money, big power, big influence organization. These are simply questions we should be able to ask and things that we are allowed to be suspicious of without being gaslit and being told that we are ruining Charlie's legacy or pissing on his grave or wrongfully attacking his friends while they are grieving. If there are bad actors within Turning Point USA that had other interests and motives that were hidden from Charlie Kirk and were about to be rooted out by Charlie Kirk, these should be investigated, given the fact that the man was killed in one of the most high-profile assassinations this country has seen since Martin Luther King Jr. and RFK. Religious extremists exist, okay? And Zionism is a religious belief. What would a radical Zionist Jew do in order to protect the Promised Land? It is not anti-Semitic to ask or consider that question, which leads me to, finally, Blake Neff and the Turning Point USA statement. You can go and watch Candace Owens pick apart the whole thing bit by bit on her show from yesterday. It's great. She did a great job. This part right here, though, short part, I had the biggest issue with. It's insulting to every single one of us. Listen.
The attacks and allegations from Candace are either lies or they are innuendos thrown around with a total reckless disregard for the truth so that Candace can manipulate and string along an audience of people who don't realize they are being played. Instead of being able to grieve properly after one of the most heinous murders in American history, a murder many of us had to witness, my friends have had to endure harassment from people who have gotten whipped up by what Candace is saying. In fact, I would say we have suffered more harassment from these people than we have from Antifa supporters who overtly celebrate Charlie's murder. And just like a lot of those Antifa members, many of these people take this delight in how gross and unpleasant they can be. What our friends have had to endure is not funny, and it's not insignificant. It is evil. I have seen it.
I am genuinely confused by the fact, and I mean this sincerely, I do not understand why Charlie's close friends, would not want to explore every avenue to find the truth about who killed him. If there were bad actors within Turning Point USA or within the donor pool, why wouldn't you want to know? If a foreign government influenced or plotted this assassination, why wouldn't you want to know? Especially given the outstanding questions and discrepancies around this case, like the Egyptian military plane that Blake condescendingly talked about in his statement, that unloaded contractors into Provo, Utah, the week leading up to the assassination and left without them, like the fact that the individual in the stairwell doesn't look like Tyler Robinson, The unlikelihood of a powerful 30-06 rifle not leaving an exit wound. The fact that Tyler Robinson was radicalized quickly deep online where foreign operatives carry out covert influence campaigns. I just truly cannot relate to those who consider what Candace Owens is doing a problem. I really just can't. This is open source investigating. Open source investigating. And it is required in this day and age when we've been lied to, morally blackmailed, and threatened by those who know better. I am proud to be on the side of the truth seekers. Come what may. I'm Zach Costello.